the one gone beyond the foe destroyer, the completely perfected, fully awakened being, perfect in knowledge and in good conduct, Sogata, knower of the world, supreme guide of human beings to be tamed, teacher of gods and human beings, to you, the completely and fully awakened one, the endowed transcendent destroyer, the glorious conqueror, the subduer from the Shakya clan, I prostrate, make offerings, and go for refuge. To the founder, the endowed transcendent destroyer, the one gone beyond the foe destroyer, the completely perfected, fully awakened being, perfect in knowledge and in good conduct, Sogata, knower of the world, supreme guide of human beings to be tamed, teacher of gods and human beings, to you, the completely and fully awakened one, the endowed transcendent destroyer, the glorious conqueror, the subduer from the Shakya clan, I prostrate, make offerings, and go for refuge. When, O supreme amongst humans, you were born in this earth, you paced out 7 strides, then said, I am supreme of this world. To you are wise, then I prostrate. Pure bodies, form supremely pure, wisdom ocean like a golden mountain, fame that blazes in the 3 worlds, winner of the best, Lord, to you I prostrate. With supreme signs, faith like a spotless moon, color like gold, to you I prostrate. Thus 3 like you, the 3 worlds are not, incomparably wise one, to you I prostrate. The Savior having great compassion, the Founder having all understanding, the field of merit with qualities like a vast ocean, to you, the one gone to thusness, I prostrate. The purity that frees one from attachment, the virtue that frees one from the lower realms, the one path of sublime reality, to the Dharma that pacifies, I prostrate. Those who are liberated and also show the path to liberation, the holy field qualified with realizations, who are devoted to the moral precepts, to you, the sublime community intending virtue, I prostrate. Homage to the Supreme Buddha, homage to the Dharma refuge, homage to the great Sangha, to all 3 ever devout homage. To all worthy of respect, bowing with bodies as many as all realms, atoms in all aspects, with supreme faith I pay homage. Do not commit any non-virtuous actions. Perform only perfect virtuous actions. Subdue your mind thoroughly. This is the teaching of the Buddha. A star, a visual aberration, a flame of a lamp. An illusion, a drop of dew or a bubble. A dream, a flash of lightning, a cloud. See conditioned things as such. Through these merits may sentient beings attain the rank of all-seeing, subdue the faults and be delivered from samsara's ocean, perturbed by the waves of aging, sickness, and death. Heart Sutra, page 15. I prostrate to the Arya triple gem. Thus did I hear at one time. Bhagavan was dwelling on massive Ultra's mountain Rajgriha, together with a great community of monks and a great community of bodhisattvas. At that time, the Bhagavan was absorbed in a concentration on the categories of phenomena called profound perfection. Also at that time, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Arya Apachavara looked upon the very practice of the profound perfection of wisdom and beheld those 5 aggregates also as empty of inherent nature. Then, through the power of Buddha, the Venerable Shariputra said this to the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Arya Apachavara. How should any son of the lineage train who wishes to practice the activity of the profound perfection of wisdom? He said that, and the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Arya Apachavara said this to the Venerable Shariputra. Shariputra, any son of the lineage or daughter of the lineage who wishes to practice the activity of the profound perfection of wisdom should look upon it like this, correctly and repeatedly beholding those 5 aggregates also as empty of inherent nature. Form is empty, emptiness is form. Emptiness is not other than form. Form is also not other than emptiness. In the same way, feeling, discrimination, compositional factors, and consciousness are empty. Shariputra, likewise, all phenomena are emptiness, without characteristic, unproduced, unceased, stainless, not without stain, not deficient, not fulfilled. Shariputra, therefore, in emptiness, there is no form, no feeling, no discrimination, no compositional factors, no consciousness, no eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, no visual form, no sound, no odor, no taste, no object of touch, and no phenomenon. no I element, and so on, up to and including no mind element and no mental consciousness element. There is no ignorance and no extinction of ignorance, and so on, up to and including no aging and death. Extinction of aging and death. Similarly, there is no suffering, origination, cessation, and path. There is no exalted wisdom, no attainment, and also no non-attainment. Shalpuja, therefore, because there is no attainment, bodhisattvas rely on and dwell on the perfection of wisdom, mind without obscuration and without fear, completely past beyond error. They reach the endpoint of nirvana. All the Buddhas who dwell in the three times also manifestly completely awaken to unsurpassable, perfect, complete enlightenment. Reliance on the perfection of wisdom. Therefore, the mantra of the perfection of wisdom, the mantra of great knowledge, the unsurpassed mantra, the mantra equal to the unequaled, the mantra that thoroughly pacifies all suffering should be known as the truth since it is not false. The mantra of the perfection of wisdom is declared. Kayata Gadi Gadi Paragati Parasamgati Bodhisoha. Sharaputra, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva, should train in the profound perfection of wisdom like that. Then the Bhagavan arose from that concentration and commended the Bodhisattva Arya Avachavara, saying, well said, son of the lineage. It is like that. It is like that. One should practice the profound perfection of wisdom, just as you've indicated. Even the Tathagats rejoiced. Having thus spoken, the Venerable Sharadvata Puja, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Arya Avachavara, those surrounding in their entirety, along with the world of gods, humans, asuras, and Gandharvas, were overjoyed and highly praised that spoken by the Bhagavan. Page 25 for the mandala. Saji Pokemon Doctrum Ravishini Degampadi Sange Shingumi Teo Ye Drakonam Dakshin Lacho Pashu Jetsun Lama Dampa Kinam Yoko Kala Kense Chendrik Jeta Sampedo Jaisimala Sabke Chakre Chabab Tu So Idam Guru Ratna Mandala Kamriyatayami. Ke Chodan Soke Chodam La Janjo Baru Dagni Kapsuchi. Dagi Chunyan Ke Paisonam Ke Jola Penchi Sange Druparsho. Ke Chodan Soke Chodam La Janjo Baru Dagni Kapsuchi. Dagi Chunyan Ge Paisonam Ke Drola Penchu Sange Druparsho. Ge Chodan Soge Chodam La Jendo Baru Renge Kapsuchi. Dagi Chunyan Ge Paisonam Ke Drola Penchu Sange Druparsho.
Podam de la jade la donye jesu de la jesu de Chana bewa de la zoa de zo shin de le sha on de la rumbosh. Age joro bende de jane ga de shi bewa ne je zante. Uzon do je mu do de la moon please this bottom this shiny blank. No, not this other one.
This one.
Put down. Yep. Oh yeah, that's this. It's okay. It might be okay. Yeah. Oh good. Oh yeah, that down the Gunung Homscara, Gunung de. That and Samsung. Samsung said down the China to move Joshi. Gulon de Uniji Shimbi Gune Lambina, Tewach Machu test to Gora. Another Taji Chudijigo Maricari Nario Daji Gulon de which jet to Ina, Son Lacho said, Nichi Givachev de Nuba Shukchumbuchadero. In the Gulon de Kitchenbore, Tinzada. tanda di zilenya di rangi jibu tula mayimba ne kaje gi simji tamje la pemba pa shi gruya chi de ne zilda di nyingi yo chenje ne udu samdan shosra.
A motivation for this teaching on concentrations and absorptions that are in common with inner and outer schools, what it expresses, but whether something becomes Mahayana practice depends on the motivation of the beneficial intention. And in fact, whatever one does, it comes from the motivation to make those waves of merit vast. So the waves of potency or virtue depend on the motivation. So here, one's motivation should be listening to the class, not just for oneself, but solely to benefit all sentient beings.
Da 저 가고 kumla ta ngal tri chön des tu gi chuma den ko ya wi chi gawo kumres.
Rejoicing that today the opportunity to hear the Dharma is a good one, rejoicing in that fortune.
Da tanda zo da kam sum che de kam su kam su me kam sum che de kam la da ngal zo de nga ge da nyumo de nga la cha be cha ba de ba de long jen de ge yun zang de la de ngam che da su kam la de nga yo ma re chi dang ro ni yo ma re ba an de za ma ze ne ding yin ji ge ne ge da de to bu xiu cha samdin la de ni ding yin ji min ge nam ra je de ra an tin de ge de be nyu mo ngun yu me be ne ge tin de ji ge ne ge la su comes de la ya ne shi samde thang bo ni wa su ba shi wa che ani de shi di ke wa de yin la ju ko ne cha res an de wo la su mi shi de na ga ta nam ji de je me shi de shi de mi be ko ne chi ge se je da cha de ta da na zo yin la de ka na khare mi ko khare se je ne ma ngi la ju do sha na da ka de chi ni mo bu sta de la mo wa je ne yin la go mo de ne ma do sha na
Yeah, kishing this some did some similar sending you not ship did.
what ne ma ba shi.
Okay. So when we look at the three realms, desire, form, and formless realms, we can say that the desire realm is kind of defined by the attachment or desire for the objects of the five senses and the afflictions that manifest therein, or the taking up of those five objects of desire. In the form realm, there is no smell nor taste. So there's a higher status in terms of what's called samdin, or concentration, where the aforementioned desire realm afflictions on the gross level are not manifest. And the way one traverses through those samdhins or dhyanas, concentrations, 1, 2, 3, 4, the basis upon which one does that is via the branches. And then that leaves the 4 formless realm absorptions. And the way one traverses those is by way of the focal object. So first it's good to look at, okay, so what are these branches and what are these focal objects? We'll probably leave aside the definitions of those different concentrations and absorptions and go straight on to the branches, which is page 26.
Asumba samdegi la shewa, sumi migwa shewa. Samde dan sumi gumbe tewu shewa se. Tadi nane tangbo zeda ge chewa, zeyu dan tayu ge chewa. Tadi ngela di yila chobje di je di. Zeda ge chewa tadi ngela shumwa she ra. Yila chobje di ma tanga di sha na ra.
Right, so on page 26, where it says at the bottom, explaining other presentations of those, this has 3 sections. So what we're going to go through are these branches of the concentrations relating to the form realm, explanations of the objects of observation, and aspects related to the formless realm absorptions, and finally cultivating concentrations and formless realm absorptions in terms of result or attainment. So then the next page, 3 headings within that: difference between substance and imputation, entity of branches. So first we'll look at how these 18 branches of the form realm are divided.
Da samde tangbola yila di nga she ra. Ni niwala shi sumbala nga shiwala shi se je yungda.
So, then the first concentration, as is enumerated, has 5 branches. The second has 4, the third 5, and the fourth 4.
Wada dine samde tangbo yinla de gyue yinla nga de kare la yundi. Tokba dan joba nyembe yinla rwa. Tuju de mbale gyue gawa dan deba pinyo yinla si. Kadingi tojo ni dingi zing nege yinla si yinla nga de.
Right, so the first is established, meaning the first 5 branches of the first concentration. There are 2 antidotal branches. They are investigation and analysis. There are 2 benefit branches of joy and bliss produced from isolation. And then finally there's a branch of meditative stabilization, which is a basis branch. Okay, so the first concentration has 5 branches related to it. The first 2 of those branches are antidotal, and they are termed investigation and analysis. The second 2 branches are grouped together, and they're called benefit branches, and they are the branches of joy and bliss. And the final remaining one is called the branch of basis, which is meditative stabilization.
Oh yeah, that tangbo yinla yung wo she yundi. Samde tangbo yinla di yung tokba sina kase wale, choba sina kase wale, right? Kadi jik shena ya wo yore, right?
Now, so we know this is related to the first concentration. And what does it mean in terms of investigation and analysis pertaining to that first concentration?
Yiwala yinla ngo se sto. Yiwala shi tanga zeta shi yiwa shi. Yinla yung ngo tine ma ani tanga tunda jiwa shi do.
Yeah.
Tokpa si do tangbo ko dewa shi sha wi na wa. Tokpa la de kara china ma do sim tingwa sina sim tingwe cha shi wa. Aranzo tuksu chik ta ka zo ra ting tu yung anzo denje chi emotion energy 여러다 지 가서 오래 심리하다 뉴식 침무쇼제 삼바베데 라메와디 데데도 디 요한에 가서는 그 먼저 심지 코드 주에 똑바디 여단 차레스 똑바디 하장 심 지우 심 하장다
Singleson.
띵와서야겠다 띵와라디에다 디라고라 심 하장 락바
Yeah.
락바란다 락발레다 데스레다 간다 간저 sembo 문주외체 아니 sembo배 지 가서 오래 유래야다지 내가 관심이야 지그 시드메데 저러시와
Okay.
시드메데 저러시 뭐여라 어디라고요다
So what then are investigation and analysis? In terms of the entity of the mind, or the entity of investigation, when the mind engages with an object, it is not free, and sometimes it gives rise, that engagement with the objects gives rise to strong emotions. They're quite coarse, so then these manifest strongly in the mind, and whatever object the mind places on, it gives rise to that dokpa or that investigation.
앞에나 단다 yen라라디 코드는데
27.
저 yen라세스도
Yep.
이 코드는데 디고레 저 심자디 행동 자원을 제로와 아니 근데 코드 총된 이제 토와듯이 셈바르고 일처와 여러와 토와 군동아 여러와 디간라 먼저 되바다 선진 정보도 있나 표버 가려서나 똑바였다 똑바세 셈바하장 다치 마시워서니와 배제는 띵와서 좀 마시와
Yeah.
마데워서니로 싫어 인데지를 거샤는 인데지 요인가 그 연락해야지 인기 통신식이요 또 통신되요
Now, the idea we get around these branches is that they're sungden, or they arise concomitantly or together with like our main mind, if you will. So just like our main mind has these other mental factors, intention, contact, and so forth. Then similarly, with regards to investigation, this investigation is this quality that makes the mind kind of unpacified and irritated. So this branch of investigation has that quality when the mind meets the object.
아주 디나라 베제나라 따다 니월라 시레와 뭐 삼대 당부에 연락이 주에 똑바니스도 심칸 셔럽지 잘라 딱베스
Because the oil,
마게 줘봐 군에랑네 랑바 라윤라 진베 남베 주고라도 라윤라 진베 남베 주베 삼대 당부에 심중실라 줘서디 삼대 당부에 연락이 셔럽 임바체 셔럽지 잘라 따셔 심중이 다 셔럽 지하동 셔럽지 잘라 똑바 파타셔 주지래다 그런데 제다는 다유단 대유기 셔야되다 다유샤로 이제 다유 갔다 그래서는 그러나 셔럽지 잘라데 똑바래 다샤레스 단도 되게 오다가래 아니 디 따당 간데레스네 따당 간데레 라인데 그 미지기 깨져셔야 나그 주베 군에 라니로 군론데 레윤데 아니 군론지 레윤데 심페 유래야 주운데 때세 템버 마시워로 버시 레윤에 지어와 어디 la tokbas la voy a la tokbas la voy a
So now moving on to page 30, because we want to look at the entity of the branches. So we're going through these branches of investigation and analysis. So investigation, that is a branch of the first concentration, is posited as a mental factor of the first concentration motivating verbal expression connected with the factors of either intentional wisdom that engages its object with an aspect that is coarse. So here we're bringing in the mental factor of intention or wisdom. So from the two of substance and imputation, it's talking about imputation here. It's a type of analysis, sorry, it's a type of investigation that's going on that's coarse, but it is connected with wisdom. For example, when you motivate to express something to someone upon seeing that person, sometimes the mind can be can become upset or irritated around that. So it's a type of investigation or wisdom that's going on. Yes.
다디 똑바서 지와 다 줘발라데 가래스라인데 줘발라데 니 뭐 코데워시나 셈이 시바치니와 셈배 시바시 마가 저거 꾸는로 지금 배주 유를 주는데 셈이 시바 셈마 시바 그것은 뭐라고 써야지 저러와 어디 된대기야 셔럽지 잘라 다시 줘질라 아니 줘봤으라고 그랬어.
So we call the kind of investigation branch course, then analysis is more subtle in the sense that it pacifies the mind. So it's also a mental factor of the first concentration, motivating expressive speech connected with the factors of either intention or wisdom, and it analyzes details more finely, we would say.
지금 셔럽지 잘라. 저는 거의 셔럽지 잘해도.
그럼.
셔럽지 잘. 또 도주님과 셔럽지 잘해. 셔럽지 잘라 딱배 주제가 끊을로라. 나게 저바지면 끊을라는데 라유라 시부르치고 라유라 시와. 라유라 양치 라유 십자도 라유 미세버 차로요라. 어딘데기 시부르치고 남배 줘봐디. 아니 줘봐스라고 그랬어.
Both of these these two investigation and analysis branches are in fact a faculty of wisdom, and that here motivating expressive speech connected with the factors of, for example, wisdom, and engaging in that object with an aspect that analyzes details.
쿵스도 마주로시나 같은 데서는 다 군들레스로 도바 칸시나 템바미 셔러러처럼 군에 주비 군데 주비 이기 줘봤대 되는 심 징와와
락바라와테스 락바라와
심 징와와
징와와지지
셔럽 셈밤 셔럽라 인지미지 셔럽 임베 처음에도 와 셈발레 따줘도 되네 군에 주기 이기 줘봐 이기 줘봐서 이군에 배 유로 조용되네 심증외차 마시외차죠 뭐라 어디 소녀디 수수 그래서 나 똑배서 그래서 똑배시대
Angbodira. So then coming from the source, so Asanga's compendium, what is investigation? It's a mental expression that searches thorough independence on intention or wisdom. It is a coarse mind, so it is like, unpacified.
저거 간신은 심밤 셔럽지 차라 때네 수수 똑배 이기 줘봐디 심 씹어고 오색다
So now the second one of more subtlety, more finer. If it is asked what is analysis, it is the mental expression of an individual investigation independence on intentional wisdom. It is a subtle mind.
아니 디네 저도 원래 뒤쳐도 또 단주나 신이 있어. Yeah, so in
Vasabandhu's Treasury of Knowledge says, the two, investigation and analysis, are respectively coarse and subtle. So we'll continue on as on page 30 now.
아니 되게 너무 문제가 빵 사회 제스 아니 양자 지다 그래서 한동 차직 토용 거라 뒤뒤니 그러잖아. 우리 겨워지는 세다. 샤기어레스.
So this passage is specifying the difference between a mere and actual meditative absorption. So, well, then those two are not posited as branches of the mere actual meditative absorption of the first concentration, because the aspects of the modes of apprehension of the two are contradictory. Right, now what's being raised here is a doubt, and then there's an answer to this doubt following.
Tante tangbo ngu shinyu ju tangbo e yin la la na tokpa da chewa nyi yo ma res. Mewe kimzen karla de tingi tokpa da chewa nyi ni tindang kya wa res. Labi na rang lu ke tila kyon yo ma res rwa. Kirang tila kyon yo ma res. Tindang kya wa yin jang ni ti tangbo e yin la di mewe kyon yo ma res. Ki yin la di juwe tokpa di rang da tsungdi tante ngu shinyu di de. Tangbo e chewa di juwe tokju nyi ka yo re ke rang lu ke ta len tangbo
So there's no fault from the perspective of our school, because the investigation that's the branch of that first does not affect the actual meditative absorption of the first concentration that accompanies it too closely. And because analysis that is that, which is the branch of the first batteries, does not affect the actual meditative absorption of the first concentration too finely. The page
Yala nyimbe la sigo wa di tanda peche tina ma shigda di nyingche wa. Nalo la pena. Rwa da thokpa da li shin zara wa kasi na. Sim chik kwa de ani thokpa da chewa nyinga.
You say younger, I didn't hear that.
Sim chik kwa de thokpa da chewa nyinga yo ma res lagu yor ta tunda dirwa.
Yeah, the tokpa dirwa.
Kasi na dida nganzo samdana li shin zara wa kasi na. Sim zingwa jinye dan shiba jinye chik sim chik kwa de yon sinsa ma res samgudwa. Di kyo yo ma re yungu res pena. Nganzo pe sha rwa. Maar sawa chu thangmo na la sha nimal dan sha wina. Pyo do ande chigre maar sawa sugurwa. Ni chu thangmo na la sha sha rwa. Nima dena shuru rwa. Chu na la lu sha rwa. Chizan maar sawa ji chu na lu sha wina. Chu digi ta thangmo chigirwa. Ina ya nima dende zan ane chu khajang thangchao ma yinba kasi na. Nima digi, cho digi, chu di nane hajang thangchao ma yinba. Ya nime hajang shu, catang shu chao ma yinba, chu thangmo di, catang nyinga ki ji di la ma di degi wara takanda, rwa. Cawo da thangmo nyingi ji di ma di degi wara. Tenan shi, ane simchik kodi we, tokbaya yore, chobaya yore, tokbaya hajang zingwa michi, chobaya hajang shiwa michi. Shiwa, tende, tokba di le yundi, sim zingwa di, shiwa di yuwa yinzang, hajang zingwa 만들어 제 시버디 유도야 정화의 요인은 파장 십타 많이버체 군인인가가 되라 심디 아지 다 찬양 보러지 소용 거와 제가 뒤인자 아니 이 로직 코드 주에 도주인가 용촉을 해서 왔다 전다도 도래.
Essentially, one's own school is saying that independence on the one mind, we can posit the abidance of these two together, investigation and analysis, and that they are not contradictory. They give the example here. For example, as when fresh butter is placed into cold water and put in the sun does not produce too much warmth, and the water does not produce too much cold. Fresh butter means butter that's been freshly produced, it's just quite soft. And in Tibet, when that's put into cold water, the sun does not produce too much warmth because it's in water. And conversely, the water does not produce too much cold because the butter is still warm, meaning that on the one mind, one can oscillate the two variables of investigation and analysis, like not too coarse, not too fine. Like that.
다지 도중이 뒤에 성담이 나기로 나 삼제 당부의 인랑아디 야고지 신스나는 어떤 말이야 데슬레 하이르와
So that's talking about those first two antidotal branches of investigation and analysis. And once one knows these first five, branches of the first dhyana, first concentration, the others follow and are quite easy to get.
되는 아주 주베서도 줄라모시 대주베 음벌레주베 가데니 여러 가디 표현이나 여러 가와디 가래라서는 삼제 당부의 인라디죠 소와 심벌 주와데 란주데 칸산디 옹보텐제 레룬디 집에 찾는 대화샤 버렸어요. 삼제 당부의 인라디죠 소와 심바스도 소와 대화죠. 소와 심바스 내외 되래. 되게 아니 가르심 받치고 열애라나 아니 코로나 줄레데메 가산디 옹보텐제 옹보 미가 옹보 나오면 지금 루이 옹보 도zo 아니 레스로 마치고 배 내가 지야요. 데 내가 지야요 차인데 데라 대외 차지 뭐였다. 대화시로 저 심바지는 뭐여로. 데라 어디샤레 스탄다. 오다 단 도르스는 원시고 주에 저와 대화서로 지래. 단대 대화데.
Now, we said that this second two branches were the benefits of joy and bliss. So first, we're going to look at the bliss branches on page 31. And in short, these are posited as bliss because the person making the faculties of the person, meaning the sense faculties who possess it in his or her continuum, along with their bases, then become serviceable, and then they have the feeling of that bliss.
그래서 대화디치로 대화디 코란기 대화디게 칠레디 그래서는 홍보도스 레룽 차르고라
Now, what then is essentially what is the function of that bliss? It is to make the faculties of the person serviceable.
다 대화지 가와 대화 근데 가와디 가래라 연디 아니 란다 촌데 유 남시 코지 가외 침머지와 이 남시여로 남시디 가외 초어체와 근데 이게 아니 심 레스로 하시라 근데 레룽치니 차지네 가와스라 그래서 진짜 가와디 개와들어
The function of joy then is the factor of making the mind serviceable. So the mind is satisfied with the joy. So the mental continuum is now joyful, along with the concomitants, meaning those mental factors that arise in concomitance with it.
제가 다 평형이라 이미 김진디 다다리도
Yeah, so then we can see why these two branches are labeled benefit branches, serviceability of faculties and mind.
다 디네 나와디 띵띵네 이나서들어
나려라.
다디 가서는 상대 당고에 연락이 주에 띵인진의 디 총대의 주에 심중 근데 미과의 찍듯이 집에 다 상대 당고 이제 다 띵인진 뜻도게 다 상물로 띵인진이 요요래 다 상대 당고 이제 띵인진이 요요래 와 띵인진 되게는 랑게 셈디 미과의 제직도 내와 신이 지레지 요인자 띵인진 내기 라서데 거 유를 내와 치야게 네 지레 편이 레스와
And then this fifth branch of meditative stabilization of the first concentration functions as a single mental contemplation of the first concentration, causing the mind that accompanies it and the mental factors to coalesce on a single object of observation. So its function then is to steady or concentrate the mind on its object. And of course, all of the work done from this on up is because of this meditative stabilization. So it'll go through the 4 dhyanas, the 4 concentrations.
다드네 삼진이외인라 다 이와 시라
Shirva.
시디 가래 라연디 아니 다데레 아 나라도 타와 니베인라 서와 다 리르마디지네 삼진이외인라 데 나라도 타와 삼진타메 나라도 타와 삼진타메 아니 타와스데 다 대외차 이집에 대외차지 대화 와
Yep. So now, how many branches has our second concentration? 4. The first of which is an antidotal branch of internal clarity. Here, this internal clarity functions as faith that has conviction. So it has that, clarity comes from conviction.
다드네 띵진레 제베 가디 페연이라서데 삼디 정보단 찍버려 가디 페연이라데 찍버려
Now, these second 2 branches of joy and bliss in the second concentration are the same as those we enumerated in the first.
대다 아니 띵진레라서데 찍버려다
And so is the branch of the basis, the meditative stabilization, able to place on the object single-pointed.
다드네 삼디 숨베인라데 주가데라 가제레다 아래
Nga.
나여로와 나 숨발랑가로와 마다 시다베 그래서 내 가래라인데 네 디주에 당용체와 첨바체 시신체와 아니 대화체 띵진네라지 어다 디게 다디나라 어디에 디삼디 숨베인라들와
So the third then are 5-fold. The first 3 antidotal branches are equanimity, mindfulness, and introspection. The branches of that. And then bliss, but no joy. And again, back to our basis of meditative stabilization, make 5.
다디
And so really the Jeshi Jedi.
또 잡시는 야스
Right. And I've been a di holy yorba.
디월도
And a chinchi tangbo.
그다음에 이 배나 첨바당 시신당 당용 스자도 이지에 내가디는 것이 딩이는 것이
Indian Borwadi.
다 삼제스메 엘라주에 첨바데 삼디 첨바세 지난다 아주 뒤주 첨바세데 유지나마 미지베 쳐들어와 갑데르 야 삼디 숨발 미세지 멘다 카레라나 삼디 니베 가웨 군디레 도베 군디시디 아니 삼디 니베 가와데네 아니 군디 삼디 니베 뉴모데 도버와 뉴모레데 미나 미제바지마 삼디 숨베세데 이지지 믹세게 삼디 숨베게 참바세 아니 삼디 니베 가웨 군디레 도버와
Dirawa.
딘데게 미나 미제바시니 샤워레스
Right, so now looking at the first of these antidotal branches of the third concentration, so page 32, normally we would classify the faculty of mindfulness as that which does not forget its object of observation and holds it. But here, specifically in terms of the third concentration, without forgetting that object, but also not being entangled with the joy of the second concentration. So that second concentration has a joy that goes with it, which is a type of affliction, not being distracted or entangled by that.
다디 시신라디 아니 친구니 주미 중에 또 주친이 삼디 숨버스 이지질라자고라 삼디 숨버들라야 친구다 고와 다디 날라지 가와다 대와다 먹고 요인자 아니야고 친구 영향이 요인자 아니 친구 연구도 하면도 다제친이 시신샤레스라
Right, and then mental introspection, that next antidotal branch functions as a single mental contemplation. Included in the level of the third investigates whether or not sinking and excitement are occurring because you've had like joy and bliss, and one wants to have a countermeasure to that.
samde sumbe kap ke tanda tangyom se de ani duje tangyom res ro duje tangyom yimbe gyumzen khares na ani yinla de juwe ta tangyom ge tokje tang ani samde niwe gawe kunji da chede yo to samde sumba da niwa to zo doje yo mare ani samde niwa la gawa yo samde sumba le gawa yo mare gawa da che doje da che e kone minyama me rangi simmi gwa tsejigla ane samdin sumbe sedu duje tanyom sedu cheda tanda tsowa tanyom mare de duje tanyom re es la
Okay, okay. Next, equanimity is a type of equanimity of discrimination, not feeling. Why? Because it's a countermeasure within the third concentration of not getting entangled by like investigation, analysis, and joy. So one is discriminating because, in the second and third, there's no investigation and then there's no joy. So equanimity here is discriminating that, that lack or, against it rather than feeling. So it's the equanimity of discrimination.
tadi la de yue dewa de gawe nyomo gu kunji dan de samde tangwe sedu gu tsowa dewe ngwa tsowa dewe ongbo shime jo tsowa dewe ongbo di dewa se jo ra samde sumbe kodi kiwe di yinla de yue dewa la di tsowa dewe ongbo shile sha res.
The bliss is the branch of the third concentration posited as the mental faculty of blissful feeling, including in the level of the third, free from joy, specifically there.
That
inflection.
Pejin di yirda di dewa di pejin dewa ongbo sa yidi san dewa. Di da samdi sumba la yidi sha, samdi niwa di ludi sha, da dosi yawa chana kodaya yore san, da dewa di samdi dosi rwa.
So it might be easy to think that the bliss in the third concentration is mental bliss, whereas in the second, it could be physical as well. So you're going from like a coarser to a finer bliss.
Tingizi di negi lasta kondishewa dibuji gyare.
Yeah, and as it says, meditative stabilization is as previously.
That's something shivali na shirwa.
So let's move now to the fourth concentration.
Chamba tanyo yanda ane tawa tanyo.
Shirba.
Ane tingizi ne yana che. Tijuwe chamba che rwa. Tanyo nyembe yana che. Ye tawa tanyo yana. Chamba da tanyo yanda yana. Tawa tanyo. Tingizi ne yana. Shiva de tijuwe chamba che rwa. 네 당뇨 용다기 님베용 당뇨 직체 당뇨인데 당뇨 인가에서 다 강게 단다 삼지 순배게 당뇨 세야 돼 요치 근데 소화 당뇨인데 요치 되제 당뇨인데다 당뇨 니도 하다 삼지 시벌 첨바 요치라 네 당뇨 용다 님베용라서 첨바 당뇨 니 단대 당뇨인데 아니 디 되제 당뇨체 아니 소화 당뇨 편이라서
So the four branches then of the fourth concentration, two are antidotal, pure mindfulness and pure equanimity, making the first two branches. Then you have the branch of benefit, which is the feeling of equanimity, and then finally the basis, which again is meditative stabilization.
어디래? 다디 단연 단연이 시작하고 가르나나 뉴제 단연도 저 단연인가요도 벌써나 삼디니가 시바디 하장기다 심찬연 보시죠 우여로
Why, in terms of these antidotes, are there the two of mindfulness and equanimity? Because one is doing this kind of discriminating and discrimination, but the mind is very equalized. It's very in a neutral state,
어디지?
pure.
이나 좁게 되다.
Those are 18 branches.
미과샤도 되지 레하르. 미과샤도 되다. 어디지?
Just
대표는
maybe.
친구들다. 이마 창이 와지. 수미 미과샤 봤어. 마지 셰션 안에 강라데 미과스 칼라비메 싱그라라.
Okay.
수미 미과샤 봤어. 다 좀 많다면도
So is that a bit much? Can we go on to the explaining the observed objects of the formless? Is it okay?
아.
Yep, best case.
야. 저는 빨리 막았나 게 미국도 마도셔.
Yeah, so if it's not too difficult, I'll go on to explaining the observed objects of the formless.
다디네 지 가서래 수삼디 시디 연락원에 샤사도 거든로 유럽지 이송아 다디네 수미 시디 나가다 나이 지면 미국권에 샤레스 미국바로.
So essentially then, the 18 branches and their 4 divisions are how the 4 dhyanas are actualized. But then if we go to explaining the formless realms, page 37, they are traversed by way of their observed objects.
제가다 페나 나가타에 남시타에 지엠이 시제 아니 딜레야다 미국 두샤고 요레스로.
So going through those 4, limitless space, page 37, limitless consciousness, nothingness, and peak of existence are the 4 formless realms.
제가 삼디 시워톱자라 삼디 시워톱자니 아니 딘데는 저거 되게 술라 쩐데 통제로 수밀라 연데 통제 아니 수데 수밀레 라과 와 아니 데라 카도다 이다 렉잘라 소바데다 게 체마단테 아메 지 나가다위 두시지 와 미국바디 지 카도 이 렉자 근데 뭐고체 나가다위 두시 고민에 대해들 미가 쉐바딩원은 나가다위 주로 베데 토랑 가장이다 나가자 생생죠 테난신이 좀 될 카도시다 야말 둘이 가자니 메가지 지금 쉐바디게 아니 귤레체 데데웨 쉐바딩원라 아니 모세다 차다 찍바다 톡바다 거다 이면서다 다든데 타야마 쉐바딩원라 이거 드리 근데 수미간 라우스 이미 겨울령 와라 나는 저 심지어로 딜레야 정다제니 니 차야다 제 심딩원라 아니 다 kho야요 말에 미 이제 수시가 담을 타야요 말에 류게렉자 된데 뇨야요 말에 다 가르치고 그래서 나가다비 지금 미국을 데미시 지금 나가다했어요.
Now, one has obtained the 4th level concentration, and the yogi or yogini sees form as everything pertaining to form is gross and the formless as more subtle, because they see that in the form realm one is still have colors, shapes, and so forth. So one goes into a focal object focusing on limitless space, which is like this lack. It's like a lack of obstructive contact. The mental consciousness observes that. It is not necessary that one is born in this realm. One can do it, obviously in a human meditative state. But within that, then there's no sound, no color, no touch. The focal object, once again, lacks obstructive contact and is this limitless space.
하여튼 도리스 두이나 나가타에 무슨 좀 되게 저베 튜즈 쑥당 쑥 톡베 두시라고 해서 돈이라 쑥이 두시라고 해서 저도 돈이다 쑥라 지 두시라고 해서 돈에 대도제 네 나가 두시 코나 나가 때문에 두시 진짜지는 미긴 당보 좋아 된다 지금 요래서라.
So here one is training on the grosser attributes of the form realm, for example, the appearance of colors, shape, tangibility, the discrimination that goes with those appearances of blue, yellow, and so forth, and obstructions appearing as walls, varieties of the clothes, and so forth. First, disengage from that.
다디 나가타에서 라브레미 주지게 야 민시 풍보와 수 풍보, 저 풍보, 뒤시 풍보, 뒤지 풍보. 어쩌들래 미그레스 워래.
Oh.
이도 아니고.
Also, okay. So although it's given the although it's given the name limitless space, there is a type of discrimination that is, working with the appearance of things, such as, what would appear to eyes and so forth. Well, sorry, these coarser things. How they would appear.
지난데 대수도 대응의 교육을 신경주 타원은 나가 디니레 셴베스 란세미시 풍부를 미고치 그래서다 제 제자이나 콜라 카도다 다다 렉자 이동 텐데요 말다 술미고리 솔미고리 두실미고리 두실미그레스 다 디제라 남시 다해서 돼 남시 다디 고기도 알아 배도 가서는 나가다외 당보배 수기 내가나 저 당년 차대라.
예.
삼디 시월로 저 당년 차대라. 저 당년 차면서 띵인진디 배 템포 쉬우지 지고 왔다로. 띵인진 템포 쉬우지 칼은 뭐 쉬우지. 심하장 라우터 하단 시도만 이게 시라 차님 뭐 쉬우지. 제기요를 삼디 시월에. 다데 다연디 아니 참아디게 가제로 아직 가도 통야 다 거야 루이를 전혀 디제 삼어 가로. 디제 가연데 나가다베게 나와지 좀 뒤에 마마마 팀르데 아니 수즈미지 풍불 술라미 토알미 규젤미 그 뒤에 마마마마미르데 아니 남시 지고미지 메딘지 스타디 거야도 하시는데
again.
디질은 단 남시 미지 코라미시 메베서시라
Okay.
남시 타이체
Okay. So now, as it says, for the still in terms of a limitless space, for the duration up to, but not entering into actual meditative absorption while remaining as a preparation. Space alone was taken as the observed object. But as was mentioned prior to that, one is disengaging from these other things, forms and tangibility, shape, and so forth. Then one starts to go into the focus of limitless consciousness. Now, how this goes up in stages is at the level of the fourth concentration, prior to these formless round absorptions, the mind had become very strong in equanimity, very stable in single-pointed concentration, so that the notions of like rough and fine had been completely equalized. And then latterly, in that first level of formless, the appearance of colors and touch and so forth, slowly they are eliminated, but the vehicles by which we perceive them are slowly withdrawn as well, meaning the consciousnesses. So those other types of consciousness, sight, sound, tactile, and so forth. So really one is only left or withdrawn into mental consciousness, hence the label focal object of a limitless consciousness. Yeah, so all the focus of the other consciousnesses are like condensed into just that mental consciousness. Yeah.
남시에게 미고다에 대해 라고레샤 다 딜레 타워지 따고도 삼디니 남시 타에네 아니 GM이요. 무슨 юм지도 몰라. 남시에 파 예외소시다. 남시에 라고통. 딜레도도 즉 동상소리 GM이 되어서 나와샤는 거로 GM이 이제스로.
And then again seeing that consciousness also is gross compared to what can be finer, because the almost like dissolution of that mental consciousness or its vacuity, you're left with a notion of nothingness.
다 제단당도 힌두기 네 줍다 망고지 티네고라 타버도 샤고다. 좋아.
This is where our Hindu friends, sorry, the Hindu practitioners would think that this is liberation, perhaps.
다드네 제메 네가즈 제메 녜베 두시질레용으로 제메 녜베 두시질레고라.
Right.
대판 가제라 제메 녜베 두시데 가 마제 네 시제스다 제메 텔레장 심타와 시제심 와 두시라고 토네 대도베시 두시라고 근데 제메세 두시라고 대메서
Okay.
제메 녜베 두시질레고라.
So then one will also observe in terms of focusing on nothingness, there has to be a discrimination that is being used to discriminate that nothingness, and it is gross. So how about a lack of that discrimination, the peak of existence, there's nothing at all. So
Sedangkan dila migba shagoya karesana, ani migba ngama thorne chima la judo.
why are these called, why are these traversed in terms of the focal objects? Because in dependence on the former, the latter is obtained seeing how gross they are and more subtle.
Oh, dear, that's Sumila Yena Shaya, Yena Dushi Cheshia, Simba Petit, Shuish Taucha.
Because
Sumila Yena Mashevi gives in the Karesana Haja, Sim Hajan Ducheta, the Yenagi, Kawachesa.
Right. So there are no branches at this level of the formless realm absorptions because the mind has become so, how would you say, condensed. Those branches are gross and don't even enter into it. Perhaps we'll take questions now. That's a little bit. Online, any query?
Yeah, anybody.
Okay, well, this kind of various formless realm. It says, at each level of these formless objects that we're observing, is the observed object consciousness itself and the four name aggregates, being feeling, discrimination, consciousness, and compositional factors. So do they, at each level, focus on each of those compositional factors and consciousness and discrimination? And like they must become more and more subtle. So there must be some kind of analysis or some kind of, discrimination going on there.
So the question was, with regards to limitless consciousness.
Well, they all four of them, they all take the name aggregate as well as a focal object, as well as the consciousness of.
You mean all four of these absorptions?
Yeah.
Yeah. So there must be some kind of discrimination going on, is it? And
Yeah.
through the levels they get more refined, is that your question?
Yeah, because compositional factors is a huge thing. That's time, person, and all the mental factors. They must have to go through each item. That's the question. Do they go through all of these items?
Chukpanni parawadi. Namma yembadi. Shepherd, number shepherd, time ebadi. The drebo tobdu. Kurangi mikyo di number shepherd wa. Di dang.
Bishi Pomoshara. Mushimashishara, so won't you do Namashi Pomoshi?
Ale Pumushimbushi. Pumushimbushi de Kare. Yes. So Morangi Tiwadi. Yeah, Morangi Tiwadi. Pumushimbashi Denzo, Mikpet Chebe Kapla. Dila Dushegi Sim Chamochik Yorba. The Sungsang Pena Casanamba somebody. So Shepai. Mari the sheep.
The jeep.
Why? Tinang la mangu yorba. Pena do tang le tang ninja tang. Di couple sim cha check la du se check ra karsana di nang la mangmo yo ba.
예. 다 저디 저 말미 그 간산 나디 뒤지 풍부라 참말라도 미고 이 말에 미 치료가 치료다 미야요 말다 나게 치료 수술견이 미되요라
Right. So here one doesn't need to focus, for example, if you're going through discriminating compositional factors, all of them. One can just take, for example, I. So one is not looking at these outer things. One is looking, for example, these inner ones like personal I.
말미 그 양생 싫어
Yeah, we need to again and again focus on
맞을미
I.
이나 어디 다도스 민도 따다래 미지게 소미 시작이 아니 미발라 네 유에송도 가서 미지 풍부 유에송도 알아
Yeah.
나가테 남시테 제미 시즈레 아니 시즈데 미지 풍부라 미용 거래서 믹사데 다이나 믹네스야 믹버송아 다 믹베네가 그 남아샤다도 켜바쳐보라 먼저 배차시나 먼저 닌지께는데 심지 탐제라 믹버와 믹네 동네도 전도에 자와셔야 심지 탐제 닌지께에 내가라 인지미지 심지 탐제 가도 있는 믹었다고 해요 말고 믹과 미유디디 레지기 치디사 대한 로데 거자다로 되면 다데스 요르들
Yes, we could say that although these four are giving the names of these, but at each respective level, like limitless space, consciousness, nothingness, peak of existence, there is that reference to aggregates as well. Yeah. So what's being said is that there's a difference between the way they're held and the way they like appear. So for example, if you know that you're cultivating great compassion and your focus is sentient beings suffering, one doesn't have to have that appearance all the time to cultivate the compassion, as it were.
어디 미유디 송나 미과에요 말다 근데
Yeah, so yeah. So it's almost like if you hold the object,
미과에
you don't need to.
믹나 또그라 로또
Yeah. If you hold the object, you don't need to like focus on it because you've got it in your mind.
I think another the toena samdandan is mangoyor
Right, and there's a lot for us to think here in terms of this is sort of like
소고는 이런 거 칼라서 되로와
yeah.
먼저 드린 잔다가디 미주지를 칼라서 이해시 삼을 단샤가
Yeah.
미주지 데레세 상당과야 말아 칼라서 이나 히도
It's like this, that an example with our life, if we're cooking for 11 people at Chandrakirti, we just know we're cooking for 11. We don't have to think, oh, this one's coming, this one's coming.
그 저것이 가져 있는 데다 말아
We don't need to know their individual stomachs.
yeah. 아니 신다 좋으면
Any other queries?
아니 자 디테스 망고도서 하다 망고다 랍데나 저는 다 연락 접제디 다른 들라데 디슬로네 하고 그래
So that is quite a bit today. It is good this week if we read over those 18 branches of the four concentrations.
네 슈구싱아치 도와 되게 말려려지 제로로 아니 한모거나 제라양 저지네 심디라로
Yeah, so beginning on page, the entity of the branches explains it, 3 or 4 pages, and then further going into the formless realms is 37.
아니 다 먼저 다른 트렌드라 네 익제스 미세면시 먼저 주시 스테이지 수수수 퍼센티지 로즈 마시에 수수잖아 텐스로 담아대 이거 진짜 담아대라니 하대 수수 라마셰와 수수 데 퍼센 퍼센티지 대가 되어요나 토자로 하대 딜 법에 먼저 되네마 주시 sabject 소라 마 수수 라마셰와 수수 딱 주시디 아직로 아니 대 전달 수수 관심 받이 관심 받 진대는 관심 받 수수 관심 받이 시에는 디디고 인지 민지게 베데 팬시로 어떤 퍼페셔널로 되게 과마다 진대는 관심 받 수수 관심 받 이게디 네 마시에잖아 다 디고 와
This year, instead of having an exam in the last class, we'll have presentations given by those that want to do it. And, the topic, you can choose from a series of topics that will be given. And, here you read the text and you understand as best you can. Your presentation doesn't have to be like fancy and professional. It is more like what you've understood from the class and how would you present that is fine. Did you come at you?
come at you
Probably 10 minutes each would be good. And if you want to say more, your time is extended. But if you can't say more, in 5 minutes we'll be okay.
아니 그것도 온라인에서 전화도 님이시기는 먼저 데라 좀 있으셔 오라라.
Yeah, and the people online, if they want to present, we'll be here on Zoom.
어디에 오도.
Good.
뭐야, 대대셔.
We'll dedicate now. Rokon namda shingla chepa shu.
Dimbe dweme sasum.
Dwe munso takun nature chip. Namda kambi.
교환이 유대다. 선제 도시 주도 대상을 말하시오. 먼저에서
I dedicate all these roots of virtue with the dedication prayers as the best. Askam of the 3 times, for honor performing noble bodhisattva's deeds. May the King of Dharmas and countless flourish. Be complete. Farewell. Sustain.
And that's where accomplishment of some prayers on the three jewels. Savior myself and others your disciples, please sort me return. Farewell to your accumulations and myself and others in the 3 times. In the teachings of the conqueror of all central place for a long time. Would return prayers on the other. The teacher
victorious Lord, Son, Father, and Son, along with lineage masters.
All objects of gratitude and friends, please, and so the direction of goodness and accomplishing God's prayers here and now.
Holy, spreading the most precious and complete teachings. Incomparable and will be to your own request.
The soul gateway through which all benefits and happiness are bridged. Let all living beings do tell me the path of peace, world reigns.
Through the unseen fruit of the blessings.
The ocean of the 3 jewels, and the great waves of which you of the children of victorious ones, may smile on the incarnations of living and